Hello, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome back.
Today's episode, I actually saw a quote online that I wanted to share with you because it made me think a lot about wealth in our life and what that means to us. And we all think about wealth as like from a financial point of view and making that money and hustling to like build that generational wealth from a monetary standpoint. But I read this quote and it basically said there are 4 types of wealth. So it says the first one is obviously financial wealth, money, which is what we're all familiar with. Second type, it says social wealth, and it put equal status, which I want to talk about that a bit because I'm interested to hear your thoughts on like the idea of having that status wealth in your life and the importance of it. The third one is time wealth, so like freedom of time, and the fourth is of course physical wealth, which I know you feel very passionate about. And then it basically goes on to say, be careful of a life that lures you in with 1 and 2 but robs you of 3 and 4, which I thought was really interesting because it's basically saying people chase the status and the money but forget that the other parts of wealth that are important in your life are the freedom of time and your health and your physical health especially. So I just wanted to kind of talk about how we are, if we are, implementing things in our life to make sure we're having an all-round wealthy lifestyle, not just in terms of like growing our money pot and hustling to actually, create that financial freedom for ourselves. Because I guess reading that made me realize and remind me, actually, it's not that I didn't know it before, but it just reminded me there's a lot more to life than having the big pounds in your bank account and, like growing money for the sake of, just, I guess, having more things and having that better lifestyle. So let's skip the number 1 first of all, because I think we talk a lot about money in general. But number 2, the social wealth. So the status, do you feel like that's something that's important to you in your life, something that you would think about prioritizing or have prioritized previously?
When you said it, I kind of winced a little bit because I didn't think
that.
yeah, I didn't think that like I would equate status to like a form of wealth per se, but because wealth to me, when I think of the word wealth, it's like something I want to have, something that adds to my life or forms a pillar of like happiness or purpose in life. Whereas social status, I feel like is very externally driven. I think I'm definitely a little bit allergic to that concept as a whole. I'm someone who doesn't really like being in the spotlight. I'm not one of those people that has like a million friends. I've grown up like wanting to be liked and like grown up being a people pleaser. So status in my head has always been like, am I liked or not? Rather than like how, I don't know, like status to me is also signaling like something to do with a hierarchy maybe, or being seen as like at the top somewhere. But I don't know if I'm like too mentally healthy at this point to actually consider status to be something that like I do or don't want. I've never included it in my like, if I'm thinking about all the things in life that make me happy and give me purpose, status has never been one of them. It's perhaps relationships and like the quality of relationships that I'm thinking social wealth wise would be more important to me rather than my own personal status amongst my relationships. And that's always the thing that all the like top productivity, business, mental health gurus, they always say when you have everything, the things, when I say everything financially, the things that most people end up lacking are like those quality of relationships. And I don't know if you've listened to, I think his name is Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, and he's like got a happiness podcast. I think it's a happiness podcast, but he talks a lot about happiness, and he was on The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett a while ago, and he was talking about how when you get to like the equation for happiness is what you think your values are now. So if someone asks you like what's your top 3 most important areas of your life right now, and then in your head you visualize like going to be on your deathbed and thinking about what your I think this is, I can't remember if I'm being completely right or not, what your values would be if you were on your deathbed. And it's basically like the gap in between what you think it would be at the end of your life and what they are now is like what you're not working on, obviously, and the things that you might be missing. And it's like a way to like realign yourself. And he said, I'm pretty sure he said like the most common ones are relationship, love, those types of things. So I think that is more important personally than status. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think I'm just too like I'm in a too good a mental spot to actually think it's bad, or like to actually be able to even debate it being a part of anyone's life.
Yeah. No, I think when I read social wealth, I was like, that kind of makes sense to me, because that does bring in the relationships, and you actually surround yourself with good people and just having really rich relationships with people. But then, yeah, when it said equal status, I was like, does that just mean you're the top of your game, like in your career? Maybe like, you know, you can get awards for being the best entrepreneur and things like that, and maybe that brings you status, or just purely being a public figure, like a celebrity? Or does it mean even in your circle, like as a normal person, you just have a good reputation with the people around you, and that's like the status you have? So yeah, I have a lot of questions as to what that actually means, and I guess, yeah, it's probably up to me to make my own definition of it. But I would agree with you in the sense that my social wealth, I think I would determine based on how rich my relationships were with the people around me, and just like that focus of making sure I am keeping good people around me, because of that whole idea of like I think is it the 5 closest people to you are like you're an average of them. I think that's the quote. So I have more so, I think in the last year or so, been really extra mindful of that. It's definitely something I pay attention to more than I did before. I've always heard that, even growing up, but I never really paid that much attention to it, and I feel silly for even saying that. But it's so true, because the more time you spend with people, you end up adopting their values or their thoughts, and it's just a natural human instinct to, you know, if you're that close to someone, you do end up like adopting their behavior patterns and like little habits and stuff. So it's so important to keep people around you where your values align and they are the type of person that are a good influence on you. So that, I guess, would define social wealth to me.
I think something as well that I've been talking about online recently is on that, like looking at who you actually surround yourself with in real life as well as online, because I think I really underestimate the influence of the people I constantly see in my like For You page, in my Instagram feed. I don't really go on Facebook anymore, but you know, seeing like actually taking a step back and actually looking at what you're looking at and seeing if that's actually influencing you, both in a positive way, like is it influencing your beliefs, your habits, your view of the world, and also in a negative way. Like, do you open up your social media apps and just feel instantly like crap about your life, overwhelmed, feel like you're not achieving as much? You know, those classic feelings that come out of comparing too much. Like your online environment can influence you either way, and I think it's really important to check both of those aspects and make sure they're both like refined AF, because you have the power to refine that. So you can literally unfollow whoever you want. It's something I'm actually like trying to work myself up to do, because I feel like it's gonna come off quite rude when I eventually unfollow some people that I don't want to be following. But it's purely because like I've been online for like 4 or 5 years now. So when I say online, I mean like online outside of this is my personal photo dumping ground.
Mm-hmm.
And over the 4 or 5 years, because I've experimented with like where I want to take my personal brand and the various businesses that I've wanted to start but never started, I've followed so many different accounts that I have a very clear vision of like who inspires me. Like there are certain people who I look at them and I'm like, I need to work hard today.
Yeah.
In a good way, they inspire me. And like there's other people where I'm like, this gives me no value, but it's like nothing against that person. It's just like I don't need to be looking at it all the time, and it doesn't need to be influencing me every single day. So I'm trying to work myself up to like doing a huge unfollow, like a huge online.
Yeah, how did you get over that barrier? Because I feel like I've been in a place so many times where I have gone and cleansed my following. I feel like that's something that people should do regularly, because you do end up sometimes following people because you think you're inspired or motivated or one of their posts you like, but then when you continue to see stuff, maybe then you realize you're not as aligned as you thought. And if you don't know them, it's fine, but sometimes if you especially as a content creator and someone that attends events a lot, has previously, and then you actually start to kind of build connections with people, not in a deep sense, to be honest. Like, a lot of the connections are just like faces that you know because you've attended a few events and you've seen each other. So it's not on the level where someone will be really hurt if you like unfollowed them, but it's still really awkward. And then the thought of like seeing them again and then them questioning like, does she not like me? Like, why does she do that? But it's not personal. I feel like people take social media a bit too personally, and it's hard to like, overcome that barrier of, I'm gonna just do this for me because this is my space and I want to do with it what I want. But then also feeling like you don't want to upset people, or you don't want to like, create rifts that aren't even there in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I think so. It's good that you have the same like worries as me, because now I can advise you, and then I can also listen to my
take that
damn
advice.
self. Yeah.
Do it. Go for it.
But you just said it there. It's like up to you. And then also, if someone does get upset, like if you see someone and they do get upset that you unfollowed them, or they think it's weird, or they think you don't like them, I think it's probably just, I need to remind myself of this a lot of the time. I just need, like, it's not my decision how other people react. It's not I can't control everything. And if someone does get rubbed up the wrong way, whether I'm following them or not, which is such a silly little thing to even talk about, but whether I'm following them or not, I think it's something I can't control. So what I can control is what I see on my feeds every morning. And we're both chronically on social media. We have to be on social media. So if I can control how healthy that is for me and how inspiring that is for the work I want to create, then I'm going to do that. And you know what? I'm quite lucky because I'm going on holiday next week. So I'm just going to sit.
Nobody can touch you.
Yeah, no one's going to come and get me. I'm going to run away, unfollow everyone, and then come back.
I swear to God, if you unfollow me, you're getting an earful.
Imagine I give that big spiel and I'm like, control the controllables.
I feel like you did it on purpose just to get a reaction.
You're giving me ideas now.
But yeah, no, you're right. I think we definitely do need to just take this stuff into our own hands. And I do preach about this a lot, so I am being a bit hypocritical. But it's only because it's people I know I've met, I feel that extra obligation to like see it through.
Do you ever like, when I meet people as well, I don't want this to sound mean, but sometimes I meet people and I know I'm never going to see them again, but there's that whole exchange of like, oh, are you on Instagram? Yeah. And follow, and then I follow back, and I'm like, there's just absolutely no need for me to follow you back.
Yeah, so this is the thing, like sometimes I might even think I might see you like another time, but I hate the obligation to like do this follow for follow thing, like in person. Like if you like someone's content, then go ahead and follow them. But I don't know. Yeah, I have had those experiences where people will ask for my handle to follow me, but then they'll expect it back, and I'm like, I don't know what to do in this situation. It's really tricky because you don't want to be rude. Like I don't not like you. It's not that I like have an issue with you. It's just that I like to keep my socials, and especially as someone like you said is chronically online and has it as a job, you have to be very careful how you create like your experience on there. And it's not that these people are posting horrible stuff, it's just that
you don't know,
like some stuff I just don't want to see. Like I'm not interested in it. Is that okay?
Please.
I don't know. It's really hard. But yeah, no, I've been in those situations before as well. And I know that obviously when people do it as a job as well and they want to build a network and connections, I understand from that point of view that you're just trying to follow people to build, like a rapport and a network in this world, because content creation world and the influencing world is a weird one, and it is like building these online relationships is a bit strange in itself. But yeah, I feel like it gets a bit sticky sometimes. You just have to bring yourself back to that place of, this is my space online, and it's not that deep. You can't always expect, like you said, to be responsible for other people's emotions towards like things that aren't really that cutthroat. I don't think it's that mean, is it?
It's not. That's the thing. It's not even that mean. It's just both of us like over. It's a little people pleaser inside of me that's kind of like dying to come out and ruin my life.
I feel mean for doing it, and I'm like, I'm such a bad person because I don't like. It's that reciprocation as well. I struggle with that in general. So I'm like, if I don't want to reciprocate, I feel like a horrible person. But sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. But I think it's a lot easier if it's someone that you don't know. Like, a lot of people follow people they don't know because, I don't know, they're popular and they want to keep on like up to date with what they're doing. But then every time they see their post, they're like, oh, I don't have that life, and my life's so bad in comparison to theirs, and makes them feel horrible. In that instance, what are you doing to yourself? Like, seriously, like, there's no need. There's really no need.
I think with that kind of stuff, it's like I try to reframe. So the people that I follow that are kind of like that, they post like super inspirational stuff where if I was in the wrong mindset, it could be really damaging for me to see that every day. Because if I was in the wrong mindset, I would be just constantly thinking, why don't I have that?
Just be jealous.
Yeah. And that is rooted in kind of lack, scarcity mindset. Whereas right now, I'm in a mindset where like I see that and I'm like, okay, that is something I want to aim for. I'm going to add that to like my goals, or like I'm going to like envision that for myself and like work out how can I do that for myself. And also something I have absolutely loved doing recently is seeing like creators, you know, like Tamcore, and there's this personal finance creator on YouTube called Nisha, and they've both blown up like really fast in the last like year or so. And what I've really enjoyed is like seeing them and seeing their blow up and thinking like, okay, if they can do it, I can 100% do it.
Yeah.
It's like a really, and like it's like the reframe of how you see people who are inspirational online, and making the choice to keep that as like something to look at and like constantly be inspired at, and use it as a reminder that like you can do it too, because they did the hard work that you know is possible to do. So I really like that kind of reframing of mindsets and like using that to stop yourself from feeling bad feelings. But you do have to do the work to actually like get into a bit of a growth mindset in order to do that.
Yeah, I guess if you are really insecure about yourself and your own life, you're going to find it harder to see that side of things, because you're just going to constantly see what you don't have. But I always look at people like that and think they're showing what's possible. So if they can do it, anyone else can do it. Like, there's no reason to not. Like, they weren't born, like, a lot of these people weren't born into privilege, you know, like these like celebrity families. They're not, what do you call them, nepo babies?
Yeah,
they're real normal people. So it's like, how could you look at someone like that and think negatively of it? They're literally showing you what's possible for your own life. So yeah, I always look at it from that lens. But I know that it's very easy to fall into the trap of that comparison and feeling like you can never attain that stuff if you are really kind of feeling miserable about your own life and you just feel like you don't know how to get to that next level. So hopefully our podcast in general helps you with those things, and, you know, trying to actually see like how you can level up your life, because we do talk a lot about stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like we do a good job of talking about like the art of the possible, because the art of the possible is literally like growth mindset, abundance mindset, and hopefully that serves as a reminder to people who are listening, thinking if you're stuck in that trap of like constantly comparing yourself or thinking like there's not enough money, freedom, anything for you as well as like the people you look up to, it's like seeing what's possible. It's like just keeping your eyes open and like looking around. Like literally even like working a corporate job for me has shown me just how much money there is in circulation out there. Like if I've seen some of the contracts for like the client work that we do, and the amount of money that clients pay for like consulting work, and you just look at that and you're like, oh my, like it just serves as a reminder of like the art of the possible. And they're paying these fees, and these are just like minor consulting fees. These are not major things that they require in order to run their, like, this is just pennies.
It's like a want, not a need. Yeah,
exactly. So just identify these sources of inspiration and label them as like things that are possible for you as well. Because it's that whole mindset of thinking that there is enough for everyone and more, that's what's going to get you further than like than thinking that there isn't enough and you have to grab everything and hold on to it really tight.
I totally agree. The other third type of wealth then was the time wealth. So that's like the freedom of time. Now, this is one that I really never used to value as much as I do now. And it's only in recent months that I've actually realised probably the most important wealth you can have in your life is the freedom of time. I don't know if I would go as far as saying more important than like finances, just because I'm now in a position where I earn less than I ever did before in my corporate job, and I'm so much freaking happier. And like, it's actually crazy. And I don't have as much money. I'm obviously still earning, but the money is less, but my time has been freed up, and that's the difference. So what's increased is the time, and that's actually made me happier than having the extra money. So it's just made me realize that actually having time wealth is so valuable in your life. And I think we all really underestimate it when we do work these corporate jobs, and you do feel a bit trapped in the sense that you don't have the flexibility to kind of make any decisions for yourself in terms of freeing up time, because you work your set hours, and then in the evenings you're probably too tired to do anything but maybe go to the gym or make a meal and then go to bed and watch some TV. And then the weekends you just want to relax and escape from what you've been doing all week long. When you come out of that, and when you like don't have that consistent lifestyle where you actually now get to dictate what you do during the day, how many hours you spend working, and even if you do spend extra hours working, like I've touched on before, I definitely have busy days now, even more so than I did before, but it's the ability to actually dictate what I'm doing with my time and that freedom. And that to me is like the ultimate status of wealth in my opinion now. And it's so strange to me saying that, because I would have always said the finances are obviously the most important. But I feel like there's a certain level of finances that you can get. And I know we've done an episode on this before about money buy you happiness. And I was like, money freaking buys you happiness? Like, you just need money to be happy. And actually my mindset has changed so much, because like I have less money and I'm happier. How does that make any sense?
No, but I think it is that. So I was literally going to bring that up. The fact that money buy happiness is literally the question that always leads to, well, yes, because money buys time, which buys happiness. But that's the whole, I think that's the thing that props this whole idea up, is like, with more money, you have more choice and you have more, like, you can dictate your time and your own schedule.
But that's the thing. I'm earning less now. So it's like, it's a difference in maybe career choice or your difference. It's not really like the money itself that's increased to mean that I have more time on my hands. It's just like a difference in job maybe, because I used to think that it was the money that actually created that freedom for you, and I used to think that without the money, like, you can't really do anything else. But realistically, I guess like there's different levels to it as well, because you do have to have a level of standing financially that allows you to live a comfortable life where you can pay your bills and you're going to have a bit of money left over to invest and, you know, do all the things to keep yourself financially wealthy. But my mindset has switched to where now it's not so much that like you can reach a certain level of money, but then beyond that, it's kind of like, if you're working all hours of the day, you don't even have time to enjoy that money. Like, you don't even have the time or the energy to actually, even if you have all this extra pot of money, but if your time is spent making that extra money, then it's kind of a bit of a waste because you're not really enjoying it. That's what I've realized, is that it's not necessarily, and I'm not saying that money, like, obviously it'll buy you nicer things. Like, if I had more money, I could be in a bigger apartment, a house. Like, there's so many other things I could have that money would bring me, not the time. But then also having the extra time actually gives you the more time to make more money as well. So I feel like it's twofold.
Well, can I ask you a question then? So because you've kind of made that connection between earning more in corporate and then not being as happy because you don't have flexibility over your time, whereas earning less now but having more flexibility of your time is making you happy, because the way I see that is you've essentially bought back time with money, because it's not that you're paying to have more time, but it's like, because you've taken a pay cut for a different career, you've essentially like bought back that like time flexibility, and like that's how I would see it. So is that how you see? That must not be how you see it, because because that's what you think, that like time is happiness versus money buying time, which gives you happiness. But that's the way I've like formulated it in my head.
Okay, so the way I saw it is like, I was just plainly looking at salary. So as in, like, if I'm at this salary and I spend all these hours in a corporate job or working a 9 to 5, and I'm working to someone else's schedule and I have less time, you know, you get a certain amount of holidays every year, like it's very stringent in how much free time you actually have, but the salary's higher. But then now I'm on a lower salary, but all my time is my own. I can do what I want with it. I don't make as much, say, in a year. That's what that's the comparison I was making.
Yeah. And then I see that as like you've literally like done an exchange like of a little bit of money for that a little bit of time. You've done like a little swap. But that's, I can only say that because, and also you can also only say that because you've had that almost comparison to use now. Whereas maybe if someone was like not able to get a job and like had all this time but then didn't have a purpose for it, they might feel like, oh,
well, yeah, you would need to actually like, yeah, have something going on yourself to like compare it to.
Which I think is a good like segue to for listeners to think like, what is my not freedom number, but what is that like ideal amount of money where you have enough to do the things that you'd like to do, but you also have enough time to not feel like you don't have enough time to do the things you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think there's a balance to strike with that, because I always think about the fact that like there's, I don't know how to describe the graph, but like there's definitely a graph out there where your money can go up and up and up, and then the benefits and like your happiness goes up and up and up, but it actually starts
That's
to
what
like
I was trying to say. There's like a cap. There's like a certain level you can reach where the money actually doesn't actually give you that much benefit anymore. And I think that's why I was relating the money buying happiness, is because I've realized only now that actually there is that cap.
Yeah. So you would have gone over that cap then in corporate.
I guess so. Do you know what? I don't want to sound like really ungrateful in terms of like, I was on a good salary and stuff, and I was obviously a lot more financially secure. So there is a lot of like downsides that come with having the more time, and you know, there's pros and cons to everything. But I'm just looking at a holistic view. Yeah, I had the extra money, and I feel like it did cap where I was like really happy to see my paycheck every month, but then I was also really miserable day in, day out, doing what I was doing. So it kind of, that's not happiness then, is it? Even though the money was there and I had the projection to make more money, but then that meant more work and more time out of my little free time that I had. So yeah, I definitely like realized that there is a cap to it. But it was just that comparison between having that mindset of like, yeah, money does buy happiness, because buying happiness to me with money means that like just having more of it means that you'll be happier. That's how I always took the phrase, because I thought, well, how obviously you'd be happier because then you're more secure and you don't have as many worries financially, and that financial worries has always been one of those like biggest worries and anxieties I've had growing up anyway. So I always put so much emphasis on having to have loads of money and being super secure. But now I've realized that it's not the be all and end all. Like, as long as you're comfortable and you've got a decent salary and you can pay your bills and you have some for extra stuff, you're doing fine. Like, you're doing really well.
Yeah. And you can actually, like, I think if you take the idea of like buying back your time, I think if you are earning the money, like if we think about back to that graph, if you've gone up the point where you're not getting any more benefit from earning more money, you can take that surplus and maybe put it into the areas in your life that are maybe huge time sinks, huge time sinks, and like get that time back. And like, I'm talking as simple as like hiring a cleaner every week or every 2 weeks, or maybe like buying meal prep, or investing into, I don't know, a closer by gym, or a car that makes your life, or like makes transportation and commuting a bit easier, you know, things like that, where like you can actually start to invest into things purely to get time back, so that you're putting your life back into balance with that surplus that isn't giving you any other benefit in other areas of life. And if you don't want to do that, you can just invest it. But yeah
That's so true. Actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, if you don't have the time to actually enjoy the money, then you can use it to buy, like you said, that time back. And that's something I never did. So maybe in hindsight, I probably would have been happier if I did do things like that, and I wasn't like burdening myself with, you know, doing all those extra tasks that took so much time out that I could have probably traded in for the money.
But it's hard at the time though. Like, I think
you don't realize.
So easy for me to be like, pay for a cleaner. But I'm sitting there like struggling to pay for a cleaner because I don't want to pay for a cleaner.
Yeah, it's like those certain things. Because I always think like you have to be real rich to like actually have someone clean your house for you, or cook for you, or do these things around the house that you just think like ultra rich people do. So on my salary, I wasn't on an incredible salary. It was just like a pretty normal one, but it was more than I had now. So in hindsight, I could have got away with doing things like that. And it's definitely something to consider, even if you don't actually end up doing it. It's just good to consider these options of, okay, if I don't have that time, and if I do have to stick out my corporate job and I can't afford to leave and do my own thing and get that freedom of time another way, then that's a really good way to look at it. You don't have to do it in every area of life. Like, just keep spending the money just to get all this time back. But there'll be certain areas or things that take you a lot longer, and things that you don't particularly enjoy that are just, make you even more miserable on top, that you could just trade the extra money for, get it done, and then have that time back and be really satisfied in that sense as well. So that's really good point.
Yeah. And I think what you said there about like, okay, that's what rich people do. That's how rich people think. They value their time so high. Like, the time is at the top. That's why Farah has even brought this up. Like, it's the 4 pillars of wealth. Time is one of those pillars of wealth.
I think a lot of us kind of just work ourselves to the bone. We're focused on chasing that money, but we don't actually recognize like the things that you can do with your time is endless if you like prioritize getting that freedom back a bit. And that is probably how a lot of people stay wealthy as well, like you said, is they invest in things to save them more time. If they have other things that are more important to focus on to generate more money, then they are the people that grow their wealth more because they are operating in that way. So maybe I've just reached the next level.
Yeah. You've actually leveled up.
That's not a bad position to be in, is it?
It's not. It's really not. I'm quite envious. I'm going to put you up there on my inspiration board and be like, I need to be like this.
So that was the 3rd type of wealth then. And the 4th one, which I know, Dev, you're already very, very strongly invested in. And passionate, is physical wealth and your health in general. Now, this is definitely something I need to up my game on, I'm not gonna lie. This is the pillar I probably fall down in the most. And it's not that I don't value my health, and it's not that I don't want to be healthy and prioritize that stuff. It's just out of everything, it just somehow falls by the wayside, and it's not something that I do consistently to just keep on top of my physical health, and whether that's fitness and going to the gym or my diet and nutrition, that's the stuff I struggle with. I don't know if it's just because it's very alien to me. Like, it's never been something that I've ever focused on in my whole life. Like, I've always just eaten whatever, or like but done minimal effort like exercise. Like, as soon as PE classes ended when we left school, exercise was non-existent to me. Like, it was never became a thing again. So I think it's so hard when you don't already have those habits. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people that I went to school with that they then kept up even sports at uni, that they were really passionate about it, and they did these classes, and even like when they got older they would continue those habits, and then that's why you kind of end up in that just habit of scheduling that time. But I didn't grow up like having that schedule, so even at uni, like, I was a proper couch potato, and it's just stayed like that ever since. So having that scheduled into my day is like an extra effort in itself, but I'm trying.
Well, it is hard. I think I completely agree with you that, like, if you don't have those habits at the beginning or like early on in life, it's really hard to then implement them like retrospectively, because I was exactly the same. I was not very active. I was quite like a chubby, like probably fat child.
So cute with the
A
frameless
look of
glasses.
pity. I was cute. I was not even cute. I remember my friends from school, they came home once and there was a picture of me on the wall. I was like, it was my 13th birthday, and I'm literally just like, it's like a big muffin face. Like, I was quite chubby.
Is cute.
And they just nicknamed me the Beast. So yeah, I wasn't particularly like active when I was younger. I did enjoy, like, I've always enjoyed like sports and like athletics and stuff like that. Like, I enjoy it, but I've never been consistent. It's never been a habit. It's never, like, the benefit of physical exercise has never been outlined to me as important for life. It's just been like an additional thing. If you're good at it, great, but blah blah blah. And then the thing on top, which is annoying, and I think it's relatively common in like South Asian culture, is like, I feel like families, so, and it's down the middle. You either have a family that does this, or you have it going the other way, where like sport and physical activity is like completely encouraged. But on my side, it was very like looked not down upon, but like if you were into sport, it was obsessive. You were trying to be anorexic. You had an eating disorder, or nothing. Literally, like there was no alternative. Like
just no motivation to do it.
yeah. And I wanted to tell you about this text that I got from my mum literally on Tuesday. So I saw my mum on Tuesday, and I'm doing a challenge called 75 Hard. And I've had to literally tell my mum like multiple times a day, every time I see my parents and I stay with them, I have to tell them multiple times a day, I'm doing this challenge. I can't eat like the fried food. I have to eat healthy food. I have to go for 2 workouts. I have to do my steps and all this, and I've got a coach and stuff, so I'm trying to stay consistent with my plan. And usually if I'm not doing this challenge and I haven't got a coach previously, I'd just go home, and like being with my parents would be the time that I'm just like not consistent. I fall off the wagon. I just accept it. Whereas because I've wanted to be consistent, I've like rubbed it in my mum's face what I need to do every single day. And I've been really stressed recently. So I went home. I was super stressed throughout the trip. When I was leaving, I basically texted my mum and I was like, I'm still feeling a bit stressed. I think I'll be fine once I'm home, and I write my plan for now until Sunday. I need to brain dump and just go for a nice walk. And she replied being like, you still feel like you've not done enough exercise. It's starting to feel like anorexia symptoms, but with exercise. And I was like, it's literally a 45-minute walk outside. Like, that's it. And that's all she sees me doing. I'm not even like eating like little amounts of food. I'm just trying to prioritize my protein. I still eat rice. I'm still eating like chapatis, everything. And she's always done that. Like every time I get into my fitness or I'm in a good streak with the gym, she'll be like, you're looking a bit anorexic. I think you're obsessing over food a bit too much. Like, why do you need to do all this? She like question it a lot. And that's always been the culture at home. So you can imagine like when I was living at home, it was really hard. Like I tried to go to the gym and it was just not supported at home. I tried to do like workouts in my bedroom, and my parents would get annoyed that I'm jumping around, so they'd ask me to stop. Like there's just like little things that like it just was not encouraged, and also if I tried, it was not supported, which meant I just did not have those habits. So when I went to uni, I tried to join loads of like sports societies and stuff. I joined the gym. I got really into the gym, and I started like my journey with fitness probably started there. But again, was not consistent because I just didn't know how. I didn't know like how to force myself to do something when I wasn't in the mood. I didn't know the benefit of like actually building muscle. I didn't know the benefit of like getting your daily steps in, drinking enough water, eating enough protein. I didn't know how that would actually impact me in such a positive way. Especially if I link it to like overall happiness and like wealth in life as well. And it's only now in 2024 I like got a coach, and I've been consistent, and like I know exactly the formula to like being a healthy person. And I'm actually not only knowing that, I'm actually acting on it like daily. I'm doing daily things to like make sure that my physical wealth is tip top. And I know from like just reading books, and also just like over the last 10 years being like in and out obsessed with the gym and like nutrition and stuff, I've learned that like actually if you pay attention to like your muscles as a woman, especially like muscle composition, your steps, your overall physical health, it pays off in so many different ways and different other areas of your life. Like if you're healthy, if you're in a good physical condition, like you recover from illness faster, you're able to be more productive throughout the day because like you're able to focus more, you're able to like be higher energy more often, you're depressed less, you're less anxious. All these other side effects from actually being physically healthy that actually make you a person that's able to not only earn more money but like do better quality work, which will earn you more money. It's like very catch-22, I've realized now, which is why I want to pay attention to it. So like on bad days or like on stressful days, I won't sit and think, okay, I'm gonna actually just get an hour's worth of work done instead of go for my walk. That's what I would have previously done. Whereas now I'm like, I'm going to go for my walk because it means that when I go to sleep and then wake up tomorrow, I'm able to like produce better work rather than just being burnt out. So yeah, it's been a long journey, but I'm very passionate about like the fact that there's so many other benefits to reap when you try and focus on your physical health. And I think so I'm trying to get you to buy a little walking pad and get your steps in.
I honestly would if I had the space, to be honest. I feel like that's probably the easiest solution to me like doing the walks, because I did go through a period where I was going for a walk, but then the weather went miserable. There's always like a reason not to,
Especially
and then it just
in the
stops.
UK.
Yeah, it's horrible. But it's interesting that you spoke about, yeah, like your experience growing up as well, because I'm just thinking, I'm sure there's loads of girls out there that have a very similar experience and kind of get put off the idea of getting into fitness and feel a bit like shamed in a way for it. But then I love that you were still so consistently trying to like, you were like, I don't care what anyone says, I'm gonna find my way through it. And now when I see you like talk about you doing your 75 hard and how consistent you are in the gym and like doing your half marathon and all these things that you achieve fitness wise is crazy. But then how did you keep that like that strong willpower, I guess you had to, even though you were getting these comments, and even now you're saying you're getting comments about you being too invested in your fitness, how do you just like, is it just a case of I know the benefit to me, so I'm going to do it regardless, or what's your mindset towards doing it anyway?
Well, my mindset is literally like, I look at my parents and I'm like, if you think what I'm doing is extreme, it shows me that I'm doing the right thing, because it's not like they're not healthy, but they're not the healthiest, like physical wise. They don't really walk, and they have their reasons. I'm not saying they, like my mum does not have the time for a walk and stuff. She has a lot going on. So I'm not like blaming her for her physical condition now, but I can see how their own inconsistencies with their physical health has resulted in like loads of health concerns and stuff in their 50s, 60s. Whereas I can see that and think like, I'm actually taking the steps now to prevent that when I get older. Like that's a thought in my head, and that's one of my motivations for like being quite consistent with my habits, is like long-term health. I want to minimize these like major health concerns and like health scares and stuff, which is I guess more normal. And then also just knowing that like for me it's quite intrinsic, because I've never been consistent, and I've always had a level of body issues and a level of like dissatisfaction with like what I see in the mirror. And I guess for me it's like what gets me through my mum's comments and like crap days where I don't want to do things and I want to break my like habits and stuff is the thought that like I know what's possible, and all it takes is like one more day of me doing a habit or like continuing in order to like be the person that I believe that I can be. So maybe it's just like over the last 10 years I've kind of just built this like really strong, or like I've associated a really strong sense of pain to like the person that I was before, like the unhealthy person who did not walk, who'd burn out, who'd just like for a month at a time get obsessed with the gym and then fall off again. I've associated a lot of pain with that version of myself. And especially now, like doing something like 75 hard and getting a coach. I've been consistent for 2.5 months, and in the 2.5 months of me being consistent, I feel so good for it. And like that consistency period and having my coach and like being able to understand exactly what I'm doing right and how it's actually benefiting, I can see the benefits in doing it. I want more of it. It's like, it's almost addictive. So that's what's getting me through, to be honest, because like previously when my mom would make those comments, like my parents' comments have never really stopped me, just because they're not like, if my parents were examples of here's what can happen if you pay attention to your physical health, I've done it, and they said that, then I'd probably listen. But it's because they've not really done that I don't value their advice in terms of physical health. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean in the sense of like, I do feel like I think I know a little bit better. And also I'm not doing anything extreme.
You take advice from the people that are in the position that you want to be in. So if you're if you're taking advice from people that haven't actually attained their lifestyle or, you know, the physical health that you want, then you obviously, like, that's how you achieve it, is by focusing on the people that have achieved it. So it makes sense. It makes total sense what you're saying, and it's not a disrespect thing, and it's not you having an issue with your parents. It's just you looking at your goals and seeing who aligns with your future self and who you actually want to see yourself as. So that it's a smart way to go about it, because I see that very much in a financial standpoint. And I talk about this a lot on my pages. If you're going to take advice, and this applies to any area of life really, if you're going to take advice on anything, you take it from people that are already in the position that you want to be in. Because people might try to help you and advise you in your life, whether that's friends or family, but if they're not there already, but they're just giving their unsolicited opinion on stuff you're doing, then there is a lack of value in that information, and you do have to be a bit careful of just like following what people want you to do, what people expect from you for the sake of it, and not actually realizing, is that going to get me closer to my goal? Is that going to get me where I see myself? Because maybe they have different goals or expectations for themselves, which is totally fine, but they don't always align, and they don't have to. So the distinctions, important there.
That was a good episode.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. It's a really nice way of kind of understanding and just even figure out in my own mind, like, the priorities that I want to give to areas of life to generate that all-round wealth. I think it's so important to make sure that you are being consistent in all areas of life and not giving too much to one area, because that's not really the way to generate happiness, I don't think, or fulfillment.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to keep it as balanced as possible.
Yeah, your wealth has to be like, it has to be holistic, because if it's not holistic now and you get one of the things, you'll want the other, like 2 or 3 eventually. Like, you will want all 3 when you
won't feel complete.
Yeah, to feel complete. So you may as well go for all of them at the same time. And I feel like people always learn this like too late, and they're like, oh, I wish I focused on this or something earlier in life. So it's I think it was a really helpful conversation, I think, and a good reminder of like what actually props up real happiness in life.
So we hope you gave you guys some food for thought, and let us know what areas in your life that you maybe want to focus a bit more on in terms of your wealth, because we'd love to know. I think it's really interesting knowing like how people prioritize things in their life and just how they go about it, to kind of, because I feel like we're all on this journey of like searching for that happiness or fulfillment in our life, and it means different things to different people. But yeah, this has been a really interesting episode. We hope you guys have enjoyed, and make sure you give us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you're listening on there. Also, leave us a comment on YouTube and give us a thumbs up. And with that being said, we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.